I remember Dr. Bruce Lipton sharing a story, an analogy, a story, using donuts. I thought, man, that's such a relatable story. So, according to him, he would go into the box for a donut, and before he knew it, there was the bottom of the box looking back at him, empty. And he couldn't recall the journey to the bottom of the box, right? Can you relate? Or maybe you can better relate to the seeming merry-go-rounds of life, the same challenges or situations showing up over and over and over. Maybe in a slightly different form, but still the same thing you don't want in your work life or home life or romantic relationships. Same crap, different day. Well, a simple, fast, and effective way to get off that merry-go-round is with a PSYCH-K balance. What I'm going to do is explain how a PSYCH-K balance works. Now, if your first response was, what is a PSYCH-K balance, or what is PSYCH-K? PSYCH-K is a process to quickly and easily change old self-limiting beliefs into new self-enhancing ones. There is a playlist available via EnjoyingBeing.com or on my Enjoying Being YouTube channel that includes a more detailed explanation of what PSYCH-K is by its originator, Rob Williams, and even some other videos on epigenetics, which our mind has a huge impact on, by Dr. Bruce Lipton, who, by the way, was a pioneer in epigenetics and whose story I relate to you at the start of this recording. So let's get into how a PSYCH-K balance can help. Now, you may have heard the term left brain, right brained, right? And it's often used to refer to someone who is either more creative or emotional, that'll be right brained, or someone who's more analytical or more logic, more of a numbers person, that would be left brained. The truth is that we are all both left and right brained to varying degrees depending on the situation, right? We are all both left and right brained to varying degrees depending on the situation. That brings me to the corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is a tract of nerves that you'll find in a particular mid part of the brain, somewhere in the middle. It allows communication between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So when we're being overly emotional or overly analytical about a situation, we're experiencing a stressful situation and we keep hemming and hawing and we can't make a decision, that is a signal that we are not having balanced communication across the corpus callosum. Our left and right brain hemispheres are not having a happy, open conversation. Now, it's important to note that this communication hindrance is happening at the subconscious level of mind. Now, some may panic at the word subconscious because there is still this prevailing societal belief that the subconscious mind is this dark place that we should avoid. So take a moment, check in with your body, and if you're in panic, exhale. What I'm referring to is the level of mind that automates our behavior. It's where we hold instructions for walking, for forming words. It's where the information that we need and use but don't consciously have to think about, it's where that lives. It's where our operating software is stored. So imagine if every time we had to walk, we had to consciously think, okay, flex the hip, bend the knee, flex the ankle, push this foot forward, land this way. You get the picture. But thank God we don't, because our brains are so efficient at recording and operating from that subconscious level of mind. So back to our unbalanced cross-brain communication, right? Why does that happen? Why do certain situations trigger us to be more right or left brain? And the answer is simply that that's just what happens as we grow through life. That's GROW. So as a child growing up, we have experiences, and as adults, we have experiences too. But as children, we have less knowledge to filter those experiences through. So As children, we draw conclusions from the experiences that we have in our little lives, and a piece of subconscious code gets written. Doo-doo. And as we go through life, growing up, we reference that piece of code over and over again. Now, remember, our brains are just being efficient. There's information there, and it's going to use it. And every time it uses that information, it strengthens the neural connections around it until, you get this bundle. And so it's just easier and more automatic for us to default to that piece of code that we had written at 3 years old, right? And which was once just a simple thought, a conclusion we came about a single event in our life. And now it's this belief that we automatically react from. So be kind though, because as a kid, you're just doing the best you could with what you knew. But now as a grown up, you have more knowledge, more information, yet because of that bundle, our brains we still default to those beliefs that we develop, right? It's our operating software. It's what we have in that well-worn neural pathway, right? But again, it's just our brains being deficient. Efficient, not deficient, efficient. Our brains are also plastic. Well, not literally plastic, but we can prune, create, and strengthen neural connections. And that's called neuroplasticity, hence the plastic, ha ha ha, insert laugh there. Okay. Now, before I mentioned that we reference previously stored information. And every time we do that, we create that stronger pathway. Now, when we no longer use that pathway, the connections are pruned. It works in the reverse. So I know I may be throwing a lot of info at you, but feel free to watch this again. So basically what I'm saying is our brains can change. And if our brains can change, can you see the potential there, right? If we created the belief software that we take action from, we're thinking behavior and how we react to things, then we can create new software to take action from. Because if the point of origin for our actions is different, then the end outcome has to be different. Can you see the potential here, right? It's so great that our brains can change. You're probably saying, well, how do I do that? If it's got the ability to do that, how can I do that? How do I rewrite that belief software? Well, you can go through the process of conscious practice, right? That's practicing with your conscious thinking mind until you create a new program. You've got to be conscious about it. You've got to be thinking. You got to know what belief you're working on. You have to practice, which means you have to do it over and over and over. That's what practice is, because you're creating new neural pathways. Or you can use the simple, fast, and effective process of a PSYCH-K balance. Now, before I came to PSYCH-K, the conscious practice process is what I had and it's what I used. And I know that it worked because I saw changes in myself, in my life. And part of the PSYCH-K balance process proved to me that what I had done for the previous 10 years had been effective, right? But the changes I've seen in myself and in my life in the past 1 year since I've come to PSYCH-K, it's like I took the previous 10 years and compressed it into one. PSYCH-K to me is like the magic sauce of manifesting, right? I have personally seen places in my life change after I did a balance about a particular thing. It's absolutely amazing. So the PSYCH-K balance process changes our limiting subconscious beliefs and helps to establish better cross-brain communication as it relates to a particular issue, so that we're not stuck in the software of our belief being overly analytical or overly emotional. Instead, we're just being more balanced. So remember, I started with Dr. Lipton and his box of donuts story, right? That was his merry-go-round. Before PSYCH-K, the bottom of the box of donuts would be the signal to him that he had eaten the entire box of donuts. But after PSYCH-K, he would have a moment of realization, one or two donuts in, before he got to the bottom of the box of donuts, right? PSYCH-K provided an interrupt to that auto-executed subconscious software. With a PSYCH-K balance, we are allowed a conscious moment to make a different, more balanced choice. Now, a PSYCH-K balance is not a fix-all, okay? Because the power does not lie in PSYCH-K. The power lies in you, right? A PSYCH-K balance creates potential, and you in turn create the results that you prefer to have by the actions that you take. Because you're in a better mind space to take action from, right? The action you take after a balance can often feel easier, lighter. It requires less emotional energy, and there's less internal resistance to the change that you're trying to make. You know, if you're not aware, you don't realize something, you can't make a different choice. But when you do realize, when you are aware, there is your power, right? PSYCH-K gives you that power to get off the merry-go-round and move forward into the life that you desire.